All right, so first you need to look at the ACT study session English. One, see the box around it? Okay. So just so you know, how many of you have not taken the ACT? Anyone not ever taken it? Never? Okay. So there are 4 sections. So the first section is English, the very first one you're going to come to, because it's the best. Okay. There's 5 short essays, and you have 75 questions and 45 minutes. And I know that sounds like really short amount of time, but those of you, how many of you have taken the ACT? Did you struggle with finishing English? No. See, everybody finishes English. Reading is the one that's the issue, I think, for time, but it seems like it's a short amount of time, but you're going to be okay. Okay, so these are some general tips. The questions are not organized in order of difficulty. So the next bullet down says make 2 passes. To first go through and do the whole test. Put a little marker, circle or something beside the ones that you're not sure about, and then go back through, because you don't want to, you may have some really easy ones at the end of the test that you could have gotten right had you gone through them, but if you just guess at the end because you're just bubbling in, you don't want to waste your time on guessing on the ones that you really know, okay? So you want to guess on the ones that you're not sure about, okay? So fill in all the blanks. There's no penalty for guessing. For some tests there are. They'll take off a quarter of a point for the wrong answer, but for this one it's not, so you need to fill it in. So when they say 5 minutes left, you make sure that you've got everything filled in, or that you're close enough to get it all filled in, okay? So one of the strategies for completing, if you're not sure, if you have really no idea, if you can't even narrow down any of them, is to have this letter of the day, which almost never happens. Usually you can narrow down at least some of them, right? But if you go in with letter of the day, anything that you're not sure about, have a seat. Let's say it's A. So I'm going to be A day. So I just don't know, so I'm going to pick A. Because statistically, if you filled in the same letter all the way through, you could get a composite score of 12, which is sadly higher than what some kids get on the ACT. It's just a strategy so that you don't waste time thinking, oh, I don't know, which one should I pick? Just say A, it's A, if you have no idea, if you can't narrow it down, okay? All right, the next one is process of elimination. You all know that. Cross out the ones that you know it cannot be, and in just a few minutes you're going to get to some answers. You're going to figure out ways to figure out automatically it's not this one very quickly, okay? And you can usually narrow it down to 2 very, very quickly, all right? The last part is to look for one error at a time. This is specific for English because, you know, they're going to underline several and you might read a whole sentence, but you probably should try to stop at that error, wherever the error is, see if you can figure it out. You don't have to read the whole thing always, okay? All right, so the next part says don't be afraid to mark no change. It's the answer about 25% of the time. So, okay, there's 4 questions. All of them could be the answer 25% of the time. But you know how in classes and stuff you're afraid to mark no error because it's rarely the right one? 25% of the time it is. It has just as good a chance as any other. So don't be scared to mark it, okay? Look at this next part, the underlined omitted portion. Oh my gosh.
I do that all.
50% of the time that it is an option, and it's not always an option. It rarely is it, but when it is 50% of the time, it's the right answer. So really consider that one. When you see omit underlined portion, look at that first. Try to take it out, see if that works first, okay? All right, with me so far? Okay, so it's broken down into several sections. The English is broken down into sentence structure, grammar usage, punctuation, and rhetorical strategies. So we're going to kind of go through. You got a pencil? Got a pen or pencil to write some stuff down? So we're going to write down some things that you might have forgotten that maybe you can remember for the test, okay? All right, so fragments. Tell me what's a fragment. What is a fragment? Incomplete sentence. So I couldn't walk in and...
In the hallway.
Yeah, and say in the hallway, and then turn around and walk out, right? That's a fragment. We sadly do them all the time, though, in writing. The opposite of that is the run-on, right? So run-ons are where you put 2 sentences together. People do that all the time. So you can't connect 2 sentences with a comma. It doesn't work, all right? Commas are going to be in sentence structure because that's the most common error, the most common punctuation that people mess up. Commas, because they're used so frequently, right? Tell me, there's 3 ways that you can separate 2 independent clauses, 2 independent sentences that can stand alone. What are the 3 ways you separate 2 sentences?
Conjunction. Oh, conjunction.
What's with it?
A comma.
So you have to have a comma, conjunction, a period, or a semicolon. Good, so we're gonna go through those in just a second. All right, then you've got misplaced modifiers. Those are called danglies. I love those. Those are some of my favorite ones. Because it'll say something like, sitting in the back, or singing all the while, the pigs were blah, blah, blah. So that kind of implies that the pigs were singing all the while, right? When really, what should be right besides singing all the while was who was singing all the while, okay? They're going to do that. They're going to put a phrase somewhere where it doesn't belong, which is pretty funny. They had, one of our grammar things was, I had a car, my parents got a new car with a sunroof, only it was messed up and it said my parents with a sunroof got a new car or something like that. So it implies the parents had a sunroof, right? They'll be pretty easy to spot, I think, okay? And the last one is parallel. Parallelism can't be unparalleled. So if I were going to say I'm going running, biking, and for a jog, is that parallel?
No.
How would I make it parallel? Running, biking, and jogging, right? Okay, so that's easy. You guys are going to see those forms. But on the ACT, it's not always going to be that obvious. Sometimes it's going to be structurally parallel. So you may have an adjective before each of the three, and one of the adjectives is missing, okay? And that would make it not parallel. Got it? Okay, you get parallelism, right? You okay with that? Okay, we're going to do some specifics in a minute. Let's go to grammar and usage. Now, look at that list. See the list? Anybody, anyone. Hey, in your head. You can even do this like for real if you want to, like not in just your head. But when you see anybody, do this. Like really, just do this. Like right now, do it one. Anybody, because it's body, right? There's only one body, right? Body. So when I say anybody is going to get their blanket, or anybody's going to get his or her blanket. One, his or her. Got it? Okay. What about everybody?
It's still one body.
Well, body, one. But you want to say there, because you think it's a lot of people, right? But it's not. Everybody has his or her own opinion. Everybody has his or her own opinion. Got it? All right, let's look at this list. You always have to have one. You're going to say his or her after these, okay? So it's anybody, anyone, each, everybody, everyone, somebody, someone, nobody. Got it? Bodies and ones. Always his or her after it, okay? And then neither or either, because that's only indicating one. Got it? All right, do you have it in your head? So even on the ACT, when I'm proctoring the ACT, it wouldn't bother. Nobody will even see you if you go like this. Because really, that's what I do in my head. Okay? All right. Now, tell me the rule again for who versus whom.
Who, if you put he into it, then use who. For whom, if you can put him into it, you use whom.
Okay, right. If you can say him in the place of who or whom, then it's whom. Him, whom. If you could put he in its place, then it's who. Right? So I'm going to say, who called me yesterday? Or whom called me yesterday? Which one?
Who.
Because he called me yesterday, right? I wouldn't say him called me. What about, I'm going to give the book to who it belongs or to whom it belongs? I'm giving it to him, so it's to whom it belongs. Got it? Also, if you know what prepositions are, which not everybody knows all the prepositions, but if you do, whom follows prepositions. Okay? But if you're not sure, put him or he in it. If it's him, it's whom. If it's he, it's who. Got it? All right. Let's look at the next one. It's subject-verb agreement. One of the things that helps me most with subject-verb agreement, especially on this kind of a test where they're trying to figure out whether you know it or not, is to cross out everything in commas, because by being in commas, it says that it's not essential. You set off things that aren't essential, not necessary. You set it in the commas. And cross out prepositional phrases. So on the roof, in the car, over the moon, right? Cross those out. Then you see your subject and your verb, and you can make sure it agrees. And you know what it agrees. But you get mixed up sometimes because a prepositional phrase will end with a noun that's plural, and the real noun it's supposed to agree with is singular. Okay? So we'll have an example of that in just a second, too. Verb tense. Sometimes they're going to shift tenses. That'll be pretty easy, I think, for you. But then look at adjectives and adverbs. So what's the difference between happy and happily? Which one's the adverb? Happily. Okay. What about bad and badly? Would you say I feel badly for those people or I feel bad for those people? You want to say badly, right? But it's never badly. You can't feel badly. Here's how you feel badly. I'm terrible at feeling stuff. I'm not good at it. I'm bad at feeling. Get it? Like I can't, see? That's how you feel badly.
Yes.
So can food smell bad or can food smell badly?
Smell bad.
Well, if food smells badly, that implies the food has a nose and it's smelling. Right? So if you've got rotten, whatever, meat or something, it looks like if you say it smells badly, then that implies that the meat can smell. It has a nose and it can smell. Do you get the difference? So you never want to say, I feel badly today, unless you really are, oh, I can't feel stuff, right? That's not what you mean. Got it? Exactly. So I feel bad, or the food smells bad. Okay, flip this page over, and we're going to talk about commas. Oh my, favorite subject in the world. There are rules, and people just don't understand. If we knew all the rules, then it'd be super easy. And so all you got to do is just memorize all the rules. That's easy. Got it? And you have minutes to do that. So let's do it right now. All right, the first rule is that on the ACT, you do use the terminal comma. The terminal comma, also called the serial comma, also called the Oxford comma. It's the comma in a list right before and, right? You've always heard you had a choice, right? And you do. For MLA, you have a choice. But for APA, you don't. It's a requirement. On the ACT, you don't. It's a requirement. So from now on, take a pro-comma stance. From now on, yes, comma. So in this example, I will have chicken, comma, potatoes, comma, and broccoli. Comma goes there. If it's not there, the ACT is going to count it wrong. Got it? Okay, terminal comma. The second rule with commas is that you use them with a coordinated conjunction to separate two independent clauses. Tell me, does anybody know what the coordinated conjunctions are? There are 7. What are they?
Fanboy.
Right, write down on your paper, F-A-N-B-O-Y-S. Fanboys. These are the ones that you can use a comma with to separate two sentences. The only ones. So what does F stand for?
For.
Write for. What does A stand for? A-N-D. Sorry, A-N-D, not and. What does N stand for? Nor. How about B? But. O is or. Y is? Yet. And S is? So. Okay. Is there a T in fanboys?
No.
So then is not a coordinating conjunction. And people want to use it as that all the time. I went to the store, comma, then I went home. That's not right. Because that's not a coordinating conjunction. Okay? Got it? Okay. So the second part of that is you use commas to separate independent and dependent clauses. This is not a choice. People kind of treat it as a choice, but it's not. So look at the main sentence that can stand alone. What is the main sentence that can stand alone under used to separate independent before Mary Penn? She had to pass the ACT, right? That can stand alone. So the stuff that goes before it is not necessary. I'm setting off with a comma, right? It can't stand alone before Mary could enter college. That's not a whole sentence. Setting it off from the real sentence. Okay, so look at the next one. Hungry and excited. Can't stand alone. But can the rest of the sentence stand alone? Yes. What about if you just have one word? Like, finally, I was able to blah, blah, blah. Can the sentence stand alone? I was able to blah, blah, blah. So finally should have a comma after it. Got it? You won't be wrong if you have that comma. All right? All right, look at number 3. You use with non-restrictive elements. So non-restrictive means stuff that you don't have to have. So this one, my father, comma, who snores loudly, comma, always sleeps in his long johns. Can you take that out? Can you take what's set off in commas out? Does it still make sense? Right. So when you use commas, that means you can take everything out. Let me tell it this way, because this helped me a lot too. You can't separate a noun from its verb with a comma. You can't separate a noun from its verb, a verb from its noun with a comma. That might help you too. Okay? Okay, semicolons. I think of them as like super commas. Because it's a period, it's a comma. It's a period, it's a comma. I can't decide what it wants to do. So it's a complete stop to a complete sentence. But this next one's so closely related that it's kind of like a comma. So that's why it's a period and a comma together, right? Okay, So you don't have a coordinating conjunction. You don't have one of the fanboys with this semicolon. Look, visual learners, look. Complete sentence, semicolon, complete sentence, right? Complete sentence, semicolon, complete sentence, okay? You can also use them, like in this example, if you have a list of things and within those lists are several commas, then you can use super commas to separate the items in the list, such as cities and states, like this one. The mail is going to Owensboro, comma, Kentucky, semicolon. Evansville, comma, Indiana, semicolon. And Illinois, comma, or what do I have? Springfield, comma, Illinois. Got it? So it's like a super comma. That's it. That's all you need to know about semicolon. What goes on both sides of the semicolon? Complete sentences, independent clauses. Has to be complete on both sides. Okay? All right, visual people, look this way. For a colon, I got a colon here. You have to have a complete sentence here. It has to be complete always, always. Back here, it doesn't have to be. Has to be complete. That's how it differs from a semicolon, okay? So let's think about this. If I said, I need to take several things with me camping, such as, colon, my list. Can you say that? Can I stop a sentence with, I'm going to take everything camping, such as, can't, right? Has to be a complete sentence. You'll never see a colon after such as, or like, or, right? Okay. So I could say, this one is, today you will need all your supplies. Is that a whole sentence? Yes. So then you list the supplies. But you're never going to say, today you will need, colon, because you can't stop with today you will need. Got it? All right, so one more time. Semicolon, complete sentence, colon, complete sentence before. And it doesn't matter at the end. Got it? Awesome. Okay, dashes, parentheses, and commas all do the same thing. They all separate out stuff that's not required for the sentence to make sense. So the difference between them is, if you have something set in dashes, you're yelling it. It's something that you're really excited about. You're trying to emphasize it, so yell it. Like when you see a dash, go, oh, and yell it. When you see, I mean, you could do it to yourself. When you see commas, it's just kind of the same. Use your same voice all the way through. When you see parentheses, what do you want to do when you see parentheses? Whisper it. Yeah, and so by the way, right? So that's the difference. They all do exactly the same thing. So if you see a dash and what follows it's not necessary for the sentence, it's okay. It's just like a comma. Only it's like, oh my gosh, then this happened. If you see parentheses, and by the way, this happened. If you see commas, this happened. Okay, got it? That's the only thing you need to know about them. They really act the same way. Apostrophe, I know you guys know that you use apostrophes to denote possession, right? It was Sydney's pen. Okay. But look, there's a few of them I want to remind you about, draw your attention to. So the first one is like girls' room versus girls' room. So look at the first one, GRRLS apostrophe. What does that mean?
It was more than one girl.
Several girls, like they're sharing a room, right? Okay, so the other one means there's only one girl and it's her room. Got it? All right, so look at women's and children's. Will you ever have women's apostrophe?
No.
Why?
It's already plural.
It's already plural. You can't say, I've got several women's coming over today, right? You can't. It's already plural. It's just women. You can't say, come on, children's, let's go here, right? So it's always going to be children apostrophe S or women apostrophe S, okay? The most common on the ACT is it's. Also write down who, will you? Will you write WHO apostrophe S and then WHOSE? So if in your head, every time you see IT apostrophe S, you have to read it in your head or out loud as it is. And every time you see who apostrophe S, you always have to read it as who is, because those are contractions. That doesn't, it's never belonging to who or to it, okay? So in your head, if you'll just read it as who is or it is, then you'll know if it's right or not. All right, got it? All right, so far so good. Rhetorical strategies, ooh, these are not the most fun for me. They take longer. I mean, I like them and stuff, but they do take a lot longer. So if 35 of the 75 question are these, usually. You're going to have transitions like but, also, or therefore. It's going to have the wrong one, and it's going to ask you to fix it. So it might say and when it really means but. And I think you'll be able to tell the difference. Most people usually pick up on that pretty well. But you know that but denotes a contradiction, also is in addition to, and therefore is like cause and effect. Got it? It's going to ask you about improving the sentence. Would the sentence be better if you moved this? It's going to ask you about organization. Should this phrase be moved to the middle of the sentence or the end of the sentence? And then like ordering of paragraphs or sentences. So it'll say, choose the order of sentences in this paragraph. 2, 1, 3, 4. 2, 3, 1, 4. 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay. The last type they're going to have is style and redundancy. Listen. ACT hates redundancy. They love concision. Shortest answer. Oh, look at the shortest answer first. Always look at the shortest answer. It's not always the right answer, but a lot of times it's the right answer. They love to be concise. If you can say it in one word and they said it in 10, choose that one word. Or if they said it in 2 words, you can say it in 1. Choose the one word. Got it? All right, what questions do you have?